One of my favorite bloggers is a fellow by the name of Juan Cole. He's a professor of Middle East history at the University of Michigan, and he writes an excellent blog called Informed Comment. The other day he answered the question of so many of his readers who keep writing in amazement, asking what did George Bush ever hope to get out of his misadventure in Iraq? Juan's answer was a great one. It's the oil, habibi, the oil. Frankly, I'm amazed anyone still is asking the question, what was this war all about? Of course it was about the oil. Juan Cole is perfectly correct in that analysis. It's about access to oil, and it's about controlling the oil tap, the oil spigots. Put your hands on the spigot, you control the price of oil. And the United States now finds itself with its hands on one of the world's largest oil spigots in Iraq. And what about the price of oil? What has that meant? Just look at this past week's news. ExxonMobil reported record-breaking profits of $40.6 billion for the year. $40.6 billion. That works out to $1,257 per second, by the way. Now, these weren't just record profits for ExxonMobil. These were record profits for any corporation in the history of the world. $40.6 billion. And it doesn't end with ExxonMobil. There are 5 big oil companies that dominate the business. Combined, their profits back in 2001, when George Bush first took office, were about $40 billion a year. They're now making over $120 billion a year in profits. George Bush has been a very good friend to the oil industry. ExxonMobil's record-breaking year included sales, overall total sales of over $400 billion. That gives them a bigger economy than 120 countries on the planet. A bigger economy than 120 countries. It's amazing ExxonMobil isn't asking for a seat on the UN National Security Council. But then they don't need a seat at the United Nations. They have a very comfortable seat in the White House. By the way, the word habibi is Arabic for beloved or for dear friend. So when Juan Cole says it's the oil, habibi, he's saying it's the oil, dear friend. And dear friends is what this is all about. Because when it comes to the Bush family, ExxonMobil is habibi. The relationship between the Bush family and those who control ExxonMobil go back almost 100 years. That's when the elder Bushes first met up with the people who started the oil company that would become the world's largest, ExxonMobil. And signs of this friendship don't just end with record-breaking profits for ExxonMobil and the other oil industry corporations. Just take a look at what George Bush did this past December. He vetoed a bill that would have provided tax incentives to develop wind and solar power, cleaner fuels, alternative energies, and cleaner cars. Why did he veto this bill? Seems like it would make good sense, wouldn't it? Well, he vetoed it because it threatened $1 billion in tax loopholes for the oil industry. $1 billion sounds like a lot, but not when one company is making $40 billion in profits. But that's the price of friendship. Returning to the question of Iraq, I can understand the confusion on the part of some people. After all, people know we've spent close to $500 billion on this war. How does it make sense to spend $500 billion to give ExxonMobil $40 billion in profits? Well, the answer is pretty easy when you do the math. The money to pay for the war came out of your pocket, not those of ExxonMobil. When it comes to your wallet, the sky's the limit. They don't care how much we spend to help them make huge profits. I'm Paul George, here to tell you Orwell was an optimist. Habibi.